Samuel Langhorne Clemens, better known as Mark Twain, was born on November 30, 1835, in the small village of Florida, Missouri, during the appearance of Halley's Comet, a celestial event he later tied to his own life and death. The sixth of 7 children born to John Marshall Clemens, a struggling lawyer and storekeeper, and Jane Lampton Clemens. Twain's early life was marked by modest circumstances in Hannibal, Missouri, a Mississippi River town that became the vivid setting for his most iconic works. His father's death from pneumonia in 1847, when Samuel was 11, forced him to leave school and take up work to support his family, shaping his pragmatic worldview and deep empathy for the underdog. At 12, Twain apprenticed as a printer, learning the craft of typesetting and gaining early exposure to the power of words. By his teens, he was writing humorous sketches for his brother Orion's Hannibal Journal. At 18, he left Hannibal to work as a printer in cities like New York and Philadelphia, absorbing the diversity of urban life. In his early 20s, Twain pursued his boyhood dream of becoming a steamboat pilot on the Mississippi River, earning his license in 1859. The pen name Mark Twain, meaning 2 fathoms deep, emerged from this period, reflecting a safe depth for river navigation. The Civil War halted river commerce in 1861, and Twain's brief stint in a Confederate militia ended with his desertion after 2 weeks, a decision reflecting his ambivalence about the war's divisiveness. Twain then ventured west to Nevada and California, working as a miner, journalist, and lecturer. His humorous tale, The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, 1865, brought national fame, launching his literary career. In 1870, he married Olivia Langdon, a cultured woman from a wealthy New York family, and they settled in Hartford, Connecticut, where they raised 3 daughters, Susie, Clara, and Jean, and a son, Langdon, who died in infancy. Twain's later years were marred by tragedy: the deaths of Susie, 1896, Olivia, 1904, and Jean, 1909, coupled with financial ruin from failed investments, notably the Page Compositor, a typesetting machine that bankrupted him in 1894. To recover, Twain embarked on a global lecture tour, showcasing his resilience and charisma. He died on April 21, 1910, in Reading, Connecticut, as Halley's Comet returned, fulfilling his prophecy that he would go out with it. Influence of childhood and youth. Twain's formative years in Hannibal were a crucible for his literary imagination. The Mississippi River, a lifeline of commerce and culture, symbolized both opportunity and peril, becoming a central motif in his work. Hannibal's diverse inhabitants, sailors, enslaved people, merchants, and rogues, populated his stories with authentic voices. His boyhood escapades, like exploring caves or staging mock battles, inspired the playful yet perilous adventures of Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn. The town's racial dynamics, where slavery was a fact of life, left a lasting impression, evident in Twain's complex portrayals of race and morality. The early loss of his father instilled a sense of economic insecurity, reflected in his character's struggles with poverty and social exclusion. Twain's time as a printer's apprentice and journalist sharpened his wit and observational skills, while his steamboat days gave him a first-hand understanding of the river's rhythms, which he translated into the fluid, episodic structure of his novels. His Western adventures exposed him to the lawlessness and opportunism of the frontier, fueling his satirical edge. These experiences, rooted in hardship, exploration, and cultural diversity, gave Twain's writing its distinctive blend of humor, realism, and social critique. Challenges in Twain's writing career. Twain's career was fraught with obstacles, both personal and professional. Financially, he was plagued by poor decisions, most notably his investment of $300,000, equivalent to millions today, in the Page Compositor, which failed to compete with the linotype machine. His publishing company, Charles L. Webster Company, also collapsed under mismanagement, forcing Twain into bankruptcy in 1894. His worldwide lecture tour, 1895 to 1896, spanning Australia, India, and South Africa, restored his finances but took a toll on his health and spirit. Personally, Twain endured profound losses. The death of his daughter Susie from meningitis at 24 was a devastating blow, deepening his pessimism. Olivia's death in 1904 and Jean's in 1909, from epilepsy, left him isolated and despondent. These tragedies darkened his later works, such as The Mysterious Stranger, which grapple with existential despair. Professionally, Twain faced censorship and public backlash. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn was banned by libraries for its vernacular language and perceived endorsement of immorality, particularly its sympathetic depiction of Jim. Twain's outspoken criticism of religion, imperialism, and American hypocrisy, expressed in essays like The War Prayer and King Leopold's Soliloquy, alienated conservative readers and publishers, though it earned him admiration among progressive thinkers. Balancing his public image as a humorist with his desire to address serious issues was a constant challenge. Works like A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, 1889, blended satire with social commentary, but their darker tones confused audiences expecting lighthearted fare. Twain's later unpublished writings, such as Letters from the Earth, revealed a bitter skepticism that contrasted with his earlier optimism, reflecting the cumulative weight of his struggles. Analysis of major works. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1876. Plot summary, set in the fictional St. Petersburg, Missouri. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer chronicles the exploits of Tom, a mischievous boy with a knack for adventure. The novel unfolds episodically. Tom tricks friends into whitewashing a fence, falls for Becky Thatcher, and witnesses a murder by Injun Joe in a graveyard. With his friend Huckleberry Finn, Tom hunts for buried treasure, survives being lost in a cave with Becky, and ultimately discovers Injun Joe's loot, becoming a local hero. The story captures the joys and dangers of childhood in a small-town setting. Tom Sawyer, a cunning, imaginative boy who navigates the boundary between innocence and rebellion. His charisma and resourcefulness make him a leader among peers. Huckleberry Finn, Tom's foil, a social outcast who embodies freedom from societal norms, setting the stage for his deeper role in Huckleberry Finn. Injun Joe, a menacing villain whose criminality and marginalized status add moral complexity, though his portrayal reflects period stereotypes. Becky Thatcher, Tom's romantic interest, whose prim demeanor contrasts with his wildness, symbolizing idealized love. And Polly, Tom's guardian, whose strict yet affectionate nature grounds the story in familial tension. Themes: childhood and freedom. The novel romanticizes childhood as a time of unfettered imagination, with Tom's adventures, pirate games, treasure hunts celebrating youthful autonomy. Morality versus society. Tom's pranks expose the absurdity of adult institutions, school, church, while his moral choices, like testifying against Injun Joe, signal growth. Community injustice. The novel critiques small-town hypocrisy and gossip, with Injun Joe's fate highlighting the limits of societal justice. Nostalgia and myth. Twain crafts a nostalgic vision of antebellum America, mythologizing a simpler past while subtly questioning its values. Hidden meanings beneath its lighthearted surface. Tom Sawyer explores the tension between individual freedom and social conformity. Tom's ability to manipulate others, as in the whitewashing scene, reflects Twain's fascination with human psychology and power dynamics. Injun Joe's villainy, while stereotypical, hints at the consequences of social exclusion, as his outsider status fuels his resentment. The novel's idyllic tone masks darker undercurrents: death, the murder, Injun Joe's demise, and danger, the cave episode, suggesting the fragility of childhood innocence. Twain's use of St. Petersburg as a microcosm of America invites readers to question the moral foundations of their society, a theme he develops further in Huckleberry Finn. Critical context, published during Reconstruction. The novel reflects a post-Civil War longing for a simpler, pre-war America. Its humor and accessibility made it a commercial hit, but some critics dismissed it as juvenile. Modern scholars praise its subtle social commentary, though its racial stereotypes, particularly Injun Joe, are critiqued for perpetuating harmful tropes. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1884. Plot summary. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn follows Huck, a poor boy escaping his abusive father, and Jim, an enslaved man seeking freedom, as they travel down the Mississippi River on a raft. Their journey is a series of encounters. They meet conmen, the Duke and Dauphin, who exploit townsfolk, witness a deadly feud between the Grangerfords and Shepherdsons, and navigate moral dilemmas as Huck grapples with helping Jim, which society deems a sin. The novel's controversial ending sees Tom Sawyer orchestrate an elaborate, farcical plan to free Jim, who is already free, leaving Huck to contemplate his future. Characters: Huckleberry Finn, the narrator, whose uneducated voice and moral evolution drive the story. His struggle to reconcile his conscience with societal norms is the novel's heart. Jim, a complex figure whose intelligence, loyalty, and humanity challenge stereotypes of enslaved people. His quest for family and freedom is profoundly moving. The Duke and Dauphin, satirical caricatures of greed and deceit, exposing human folly and societal corruption. Tom Sawyer, his late reappearance introduces a playful but disruptive tone, complicating the novel's moral arc. Themes: freedom and slavery. The river symbolizes a space of freedom, contrasting with the oppressive civilization ashore. Jim's literal enslavement parallels Huck's figurative entrapment by society. Moral growth. Huck's decision to go to hell rather than betray Jim marks a rejection of societal prejudice, a radical stance for its time. Satire of society. Twain lampoons romanticism through Tom's fantasies, religious hypocrisy, and Southern aristocracy, the Grangerford chivalry. Friendship and equality. Huck and Jim's bond transcends race and class, offering a vision of mutual respect in a divided society. Hidden meanings. Huckleberry Finn is a searing critique of American hypocrisy, particularly its racial and moral contradictions. The Mississippi River serves as a liminal space where Huck and Jim can forge an egalitarian relationship, free from societal constraints. However, the novel's ending has sparked debate. Tom's absurd rescue of Jim, despite his freedom, may reflect Twain's disillusionment with post-Reconstruction America, where emancipation failed to deliver true equality. The novel's use of the N-word and dialect, authentic to its setting, remains contentious, raising questions about how to engage with its language today. Twain's satire also targets the romanticized South, exposing its violence and moral bankruptcy through the Grangerford-Shepherdson feud. Critical context, published in 1884. During the Jim Crow era, Huckleberry Finn challenged the racial status quo, earning both praise and condemnation. Banned by libraries for its language and perceived immorality, it was later hailed as a masterpiece. Ernest Hemingway declared it the foundation of modern American literature. Today, it's a staple in education but sparks debate over its racial language and the ethics of teaching it. Some see it as a powerful anti-racist text, others argue it perpetuates stereotypes through its ending in dialect. Lesser-known works and their significance. Beyond Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, Twain's oeuvre includes works that reveal his versatility and evolving worldview. The Innocents Abroad, 1869, a travelogue based on Twain's 1867 Mediterranean tour. It satirizes American tourists and old-world pretensions. Its irreverent humor established Twain as a cultural commentator. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, 1889. This time-travel satire critiques feudalism, technology, and American exceptionalism. Its dark ending, where the protagonist's modern innovations lead to mass slaughter, reflects Twain's growing cynicism. Pudd'nhead Wilson, 1894, a novel exploring race and identity through a switched-at-birth plot. It critiques the arbitrariness of racial categories. Its complex tone blends humor with tragedy, showcasing Twain's late career depth. The Mysterious Stranger, published posthumously, an unfinished manuscript grappling with existential questions. It reveals Twain's late-life pessimism about human nature and divine justice. These works highlight Twain's range, from travel writing to speculative fiction, and his increasing focus on philosophical and social issues. Global travels and their impact. Twain's worldwide lecture tour, 1895 to 1896, took him to Australia, New Zealand, India, and South Africa, exposing him to diverse cultures and colonial realities. His observations, recorded in Following the Equator, 1897, sharpened his critique of imperialism and racism. In India, he marveled at the cultural richness but condemned British exploitation. In South Africa, he criticized the Boer treatment of native populations. These experiences deepened his anti-imperialist stance, evident in essays like To the Person Sitting in Darkness, 1901, which denounced American and European colonialism. His global perspective broadened his literary scope, making his work resonate beyond American borders. Philosophical evolution. Twain's worldview evolved from youthful optimism to profound skepticism. Early works like Tom Sawyer celebrate innocence and adventure, but later writings reflect disillusionment with human nature and societal progress. The deaths of his family members and his financial failures fueled this shift. In What Is Man, 1906, a philosophical dialogue, Twain argues that humans are driven by self-interest, not free will. His unpublished Letters from the Earth critiques religious dogma with biting satire. This darkening vision, while less commercially successful, added depth to his legacy, positioning him as a thinker as much as a storyteller. Literary style. Twain's style is a cornerstone of his genius. His use of vernacular language, capturing the cadences of Southern, Black, and working-class speech, gave his characters authenticity and revolutionized American literature. His humor, ranging from slapstick to sophisticated satire, engaged readers while exposing societal flaws. In Huckleberry Finn, Huck's first-person narration creates an intimate, unreliable perspective, inviting readers to question his assumptions. Twain's vivid descriptions of the Mississippi River lend a mythic quality, while his episodic plots mirror the unpredictability of life. His ability to balance comedy and tragedy, as in Huck's Moral Dilemmas or the Grangerford Feud, showcases his mastery of tone. Influence on world literature. Twain's impact on literature is immeasurable. Huckleberry Finn is often called the great American novel for its exploration of race, morality, and identity. Hemingway's claim that all modern American literature comes from it underscores its influence on writers like William Faulkner, Toni Morrison, and J.D. Salinger, who adopted its vernacular and introspective style. Twain's satire inspired humorists like Kurt Vonnegut and Joseph Heller, while his anti-imperialist writings influenced global thinkers like George Orwell. Translated into over 50 languages, his works resonate for their universal themes of freedom, justice, and human folly. His pioneering use of dialect paved the way for diverse voices in literature, from Zora Neale Hurston to Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Reception then and now. Tom Sawyer was an immediate hit, praised for its humor and nostalgia but criticized by some as trivial. Huckleberry Finn faced harsher scrutiny. The Concord Public Library banned it in 1885, calling it coarse and vulgar. Its sympathetic portrayal of Jim and critique of slavery were radical, earning both admiration and outrage. By the 20th century, it was hailed as a literary landmark, with scholars praising its moral complexity. Today, both novels are canonical but controversial. Huckleberry Finn's use of the N-word in dialect sparks debate. Some see it as a vital anti-racist text, others as problematic for modern classrooms. Its bans persist in some schools, while others use it to teach historical context and racial justice. Twain's broader oeuvre, especially his anti-imperialist essays, is increasingly studied for its relevance to contemporary issues like colonialism and systemic inequality. Interesting facts about Mark Twain. Halley's Comet. Twain's birth and death coincided with the comet's appearances, a coincidence he predicted with eerie accuracy. Technological fascination. A friend of Nikola Tesla, Twain was an early adopter of typewriters and even patented inventions, including a self-pasting scrapbook. Literary feuds. His rivalry with Bret Hart soured after a failed collaboration on the play Sin. Twain also clashed with critics who misunderstood his serious works. Anti-imperialist activism. As vice president of the Anti-Imperialist League, Twain fiercely opposed the U.S. annexation of the Philippines, calling it a betrayal of American values. Pseudonyms galore. Before settling on Mark Twain, he used names like W. Epaminondas Adrastus Blab and Thomas Jefferson Snodgrass for early sketches. Oxford Honor. In 1907, Twain received an honorary doctorate from Oxford University, a rare accolade for an American writer at the time. Cultural and historical context. Twain wrote during a turbulent period in American history. Tom Sawyer appeared during Reconstruction, a time of racial and political upheaval, reflecting a nostalgic retreat to a pre-war South. Huckleberry Finn, published in the Jim Crow era, confronted the failure of Reconstruction to achieve racial equality. Twain's critique of slavery and hypocrisy was bold for its time, aligning him with abolitionist sentiments but also exposing him to backlash. His later anti-imperialist writings responded to America's expansionist policies, particularly the Spanish-American War, positioning him as a global commentator. Understanding this context illuminates the radical nature of his work and its enduring relevance. Modern interpretations and adaptations. Twain's works have inspired countless adaptations, films, plays, and novels that reinterpret his themes for new audiences. Huckleberry Finn has been adapted into films like the 1939 Mickey Rooney version and the 1993 Disney adaptation, though many struggle to capture the novel's moral depth. Modern authors, like John Clinch and Finn, 2007, reimagined Twain's characters, focusing on darker elements like Huck's father. Scholars continue to debate Twain's legacy, with some viewing him as a proto-civil rights advocate and others critiquing his racial portrayals. His works remain a lens for examining America's ongoing struggles with race, identity, and justice. Conclusion. Mark Twain's life and work encapsulate the spirit of 19th-century America, its vitality, contradictions, and aspirations. From his Hannibal childhood to his global travels, Twain drew on a rich tapestry of experiences to craft stories that blend humor, adventure, and profound social critique. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn remain his crowning achievements, capturing the joys of youth while confronting the moral failures of their time. His lesser-known works, Global Perspectives, and Philosophical Evolution reveal a writer of remarkable depth. Despite personal and professional challenges, Twain's legacy endures in his sharp wit, authentic voices, and fearless engagement with humanity's complexities. As a storyteller, satirist, and moralist, he continues to challenge and inspire readers worldwide, his words as vital today as they were in his era.